Hello, my name is Jonathan Loss. I am the Dean for Enrollment Management here at Catawba Valley Community College, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about our Student Code of Conduct and then more specifically about our Title IX policies and procedures. CVCC is governed by a really thick notebook of policies and procedures that if you're interested in, you can click on this link to see them all. But I'm going to highlight the few that are really important for you to know as a new student. First of all, you have rights as a student. For instance, you are free to pursue your educational goals. That's why you're all coming to CVCC. You have the right to the freedom of expression, inquiry, assembly. You have the right to inquire about and propose improvements. You have the right to review your official records. And I'll pause there briefly to mention the fact that you have that right, no one else does, unless you give that right to them. So your parents do not have the right to view your official records. Your spouse does not have that right. Your children does not have that right unless you give it to them. Now in our Office of Student Services, you can give that right with verbal assent by having them accompany you, or we also have forms that you can fill out that allows some third party to have access to your official record. And that's because we are governed by federal privacy law known as FERPA. Other rights that you have are rights to due process, the right to voluntarily withdraw from classes, and the right to be free from discrimination, harassment, and sexual violence. Because student rights are so important to us, we have a student code of conduct that we have enacted. This is to protect the rights of all students. This is not to infringe upon your freedoms. It is to protect rights. And so we expect all students to abide by this student code of conduct. We do occasionally have to enact disciplinary procedures against students who commit violations to this code of conduct. Specifically, these violations fall into two broad categories. They're either academic related or they're non-academic related. Within our P&P manual, there are three categories of academic related violations. These include plagiarism, which is essentially taking somebody else's work and claiming it as your own without giving proper credit. Cheating, which is a really broad term that can encompass all kinds of items. And then aiding acts of academic dishonesty. So essentially, you need to do your own work and not do other people's work. And if you do those two things, you should not run afoul of the Student Code of Conduct in this manner. However, if you do find yourself in that situation where you're investigated for or accused of an act of academic violation, those are handled through our administrators on the academic side. So your instructor, their department head or director, up to their dean, and perhaps eventually the vice president of teaching and learning. And the types of sanctions that you can get for any of these violations are anything from being asked to recomplete the assignment all the way up to losing credit for the course and getting an F in the course, which is a very severe penalty and would set you back significantly and has lots of different complications for your future enrollment here at the college. On the other side, we have 26 different types of non-academic violations. I'm not going to read all of these to you. You're welcome to pause the video and take a look at them all if you'd like. But I will highlight a few of these. Drugs and alcohol have no place on our campus here at CVCC. Please do not bring that onto our campus. There's also several things related to assault and violence. Again, no place for any of that on our campus. Traffic violations. Our speed limit's 10 miles per hour. Please don't go racing through here at 35. We have many pedestrians, and we definitely do not want any of them hit. And we're going to talk specifically about sexual harassment and sexual violence in just a moment. But these types of violations are reasons for which you might have to come to my office, and we'll have to talk about it. And there are multiple different sanctions that could be imposed for non-academic violations, anything from a simple reprimand all the way up to expulsion from the college. Now, I don't particularly have the authority to expel, only our president does, but he has done that on recommendation before in the past. So please take the Code of Conduct seriously. Do not be in violation of these items. We do need to highlight one item on here very specifically. It is the Title IX sexual harassment procedure. Now this is about a 20-page procedure in our P&P manual, which again you are free to read if you are interested, but I need to highlight a few things. First of all, what is Title IX? Well, it's the comprehensive federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any federally funded education program or activity. Since Catawba Valley Community College is a federally funded education program, we therefore fall under the jurisdiction of Title IX. So what is discrimination on the basis of sex? Well, according to the federal government, it includes these 5 items. Quid pro quo harassment, that's you do this for me and I'll do this for you. Other types of sexual harassment, sexual assault, stalking, and added recently to the code was dating or domestic violence, which collectively the federal government calls all 5 of these things under the broad umbrella of sexual harassment. In our policy, there are lots of different definitions. You can see them on your screen here. I'm going to highlight a few of these. Complainant, that is the individual who is alleged to be a victim of conduct that could constitute sexual harassment. And then the respondent is the individual who's the reported perpetrator of such conduct. We do not find students guilty or not guilty of sexual harassment. We find them responsible or not responsible. And you need to know that the Title IX coordinator is me. I'm the person responsible for conducting Title IX investigations. And I take this role very seriously, and I will conduct a full and thorough investigation if I need to into any complaints of sexual harassment. So if you are a victim of sexual harassment, please, please, please tell someone. Tell your instructor, tell their supervisor, come straight to our office in Student Services and let me know. We will take this seriously. A few last items to mention on Title IX. We do, as I said, take all of this seriously. We will do a thorough investigation. At the same time, if you are accused of sexual harassment, you are presumed not responsible until the evidence shows otherwise. So you are not presumed responsible just because you've been accused. Also, you need to know that Title IX procedures do apply to everyone on our campus. So not just students. This applies to employees and any other third parties who are present on our campus. Also, our investigation is required by law independent of anything that law enforcement may be doing as well. So if there's a law enforcement investigation, we still have to do our own investigation as well. We will collaborate in those cases, but they are 2 separate investigations. And lastly, if the complainant or the respondent, if they're both students, then they can request an informal resolution to this process, which is a shorter grievance process. But for the protection of students, for their safety, if the complainant is ever a student and the respondent is an employee, we will complete the full grievance process for the safety and protection of our students. So in addition to grievances related to sexual harassment, students have the right to file other types of grievances. So if you feel that you've been mistreated in any way on our campus, you do have recourse. You can refer to this policy to see those different ways in which you can do that. But I want to end this portion specifically with the grade appeal, a particular type of grievance. So students at CVCC do have the right to appeal their final course grades. This does not mean that you can appeal every grade that you get in the class along the way. You know, you think, I got an 85 on the quiz, I should have had a 92, I'm going to go appeal. That's not appealable. Now, you can talk to your instructor about that and ask if there may have been some misunderstanding, and I highly encourage you to talk to instructors if you feel like something has been graded incorrectly. But that's not a formal appeal. These appeals that I'm talking about refer to the end of the semester, you've gotten your grades, and it shows you got a D, and yet you thought you had an A in the class, or a B, or whatever. I was an instructor for 14 years here in the math department at CVCC, and just want you to know that instructors make mistakes. So just because the grade shows up incorrectly in your final grades does not mean that your instructor hates you. They may have keyed something wrong. I made that mistake before. Student emailed me, said, I thought I had an A in your class. I said, I thought you had an A too. Why are you asking? They let me know that the grade was a C. So I hit the key wrong when I put it in. It was a simple fix. I fixed it. So just because the grade is incorrect in your final grades, don't assume that your instructor has some malicious intent. Please reach out to them. These are our levels of appeal. Start with your instructor and make sure there wasn't just some misunderstanding. But other times there are legitimate, differences of opinion on what that final grade should be. And so as a student, you do have a right to appeal what your grade is. You've looked at the syllabus, you feel like you've met all the requirements for it, your instructor feels otherwise. After you've talked with them, you can then talk to the department head or the dean, all the way up to the department head, up to the vice president for teaching and learning, and lastly to the appeals committee, which has both students and employees on it. But that is our last level of appeal. So if you have any further questions about student code of conduct, would love to talk with you about that in student services, please come by and see me. Again, my name is Jonathan Loss. I'm the Dean for Enrollment Management. Thank you.